inviting you to prayer and meditation. Please be seated. Thank you. The Secretary will read the order.
Debate on vote number 11, Public Works Appropriation Bill.
We are inviting the Honorable Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure to the podium.
Good evening, Honourable Chairperson, members of the Cabinet and MECs, the Chair and members of the Portfolio Committee, Honourable members of Parliament. Let me also recognise the people in the gallery, the chairpersons and CEOs of all the public entities and professional councils, representatives of the Auditor General's Office, members of the Audit Committee, the Director General and all senior members in the department, as well as HODs from the Provincial Department, participants from the DPW's Young Professionals Program and also representatives from the EPWP, colleagues and friends. Please accept an apology on behalf of the Deputy Minister Kivit, who cannot be here tonight because she's got a bereavement in the family. The sixth administration of the Democratic Government of South Africa has begun its work in an era of fiscal constraint following years of economic decline. President Ramaphosa has been leading the drive to stimulate the economy, but it is incumbent on all patriotic South Africans to contribute to our recovery and to the restoration of our national pride and hope. Now is the time to focus on implementation. The President said in his SONA address last month, it's time to make choices. And as part of the reconfiguration of government, over and above the historic role of the Department of Public Works, the function of infrastructure coordination was assigned to the department, which is now called the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure. In addition to this function, the department has been assigned the responsibilities to coordinate the Infrastructure Delivery Management System, IDMS, a function previously performed by the National Treasury, as well as the transfer of the Presidential Infrastructure Coordinating Commission, previously performed by the Department of Economic Development. South Africa must invest more in infrastructure to create the conditions for the economy to grow, and so we must also invest wisely. Infrastructure is a critical area of investment that supports structural transformation, growth and job creation. It is essential to our economy rejuvenation. In addition, an infrastructure investment fund of 100 billion rand has been established as a commitment from government. Chairperson, the President has set the focus of the sixth administration on 7 priorities: economic transformation and job creation, education, skills and health, consolidating the social wage through reliable and quality basic services, spatial integration, human settlements and local government, social cohesion and safe communities, a capable, ethical and developmental state, and a better Africa and a better world. I have since that time recalibrated the department's annual performance plan for this financial year to specifically address the 7 priorities. All our programs and policies across the department and its entities are now in direct pursuit of this overarching task. The processes of reconfiguration of the department to accommodate the additional functions of IDMS and PICC coordination are being managed through the process of the National Macro Organization of Government set by the Presidency. So in line with their time frames, these are set to be concluded by December 2019. The budget that I present to you, therefore, primarily concerns the functions of the old department. Let me start with the main vote, the DPWI vote. The budget allocation to the main vote in the current financial year 2019-20 is 7.8 billion. 86% is allocated for transfer, the bulk of which 4.2 billion towards the support of the property management trading entity and other departmental entities like the Construction Development Board, the Council for the Built Environment, and Agreements South Africa. We've also put aside 2.3 billion rand for EPWP, the Extended Public Works Program, and then the balance of the budget of 1.1 billion is spread out to fund policy and skills development, strengthen government, risk and compliance, and fight corruption. Chairperson, allow me to briefly focus on the EPWP. Honorable members, our country continues to confront the scourge of unemployment and poverty. Given the significance of the EPWP program in this regard, I will be directly involved in the monitoring and evaluation of this program. During phase 3 of the EPWP, covering the previous 5 financial years, more than 4.5 million beneficiaries have been positively impacted on. And this number comprises of 66% women, 44% youth, and 1% people living with disabilities. It is our target in this current financial year to create another 8,200 new work opportunities, and we will also increase the participation of disabled people to more than 2% in the next 2 years. Phase 4 will be replicating and expanding existing initiatives such as safety programs, early childhood development, the tourism program, and road and maintenance programs. In addition, we will improve youth participation through the expanding youth program, such as the National Youth Services, Youth Environmental Services, and also youth ambassadors. We project that over the 5 years of implementation, a total of 41 billion will be transferred to EPWP programs. I've emphasized that the involvement of intermediaries must be minimized so that we can maximize the benefit of money to the beneficiaries. Of the 2.3 billion rand assigned to the program in this financial year, approximately 700 million goes towards intermediaries. So measures are in place also to deal with the following pitfalls which is being experienced in the past. We've experienced under-reporting by public bodies, such as national departments, provincial departments, and municipalities in terms of the work opportunities created. Concerns exist in terms of patronage in the recruitment of participants, the lack of transparency in recruitment, and inconsistency also in the recruitment processes. We also find non-compliance of public bodies to the ministerial determination on EPWP, which result in audit findings. Examples include projects are not being reported. Not all participants that work on a project are recorded. Poor record keeping of documents such as attendance, ghost EPWP workers getting paid, And some of these problems continue to occur even today. It is also a great concern that some municipalities use EPWE allocations to fund core business of the municipality instead of employing people at decent rates and placing them on the municipal wage bill. This practice of using EPWP to perform core functions must stop. Let me turn to fraud and corruption. South Africans are sick and tired of fraud and corruption in the public service. Transparency is the most deterrent to corruption. As such, I've already requested my officials in the department to put measures in place for public scrutiny of all our supply chain management processes. There will be no secrecy in the awards of tenders. From now on, members of the public will be allowed to observe the evaluation and adjudication of our bidding process. In the 2018 State of the Nation address, President Ramaphosa spoke of lifestyle audits for elected officials. So I have requested my department that such audits must be completed between August 2019 and June 2020, and that I want my lifestyle audit to be first. Chairperson, we are doing all that we can to recover looted money and stem the tide of wasteful and corrupt losses. There are presently 37 dockets registered with the police geared towards recovering about 29 million rand. The SIU has conducted 2,325 investigations, finalizing approximately half of them, and has referred to the department 403 million rand that must be recovered. We are also supporting the SIU in a court case, the court case process to recover 155 million in excessive expenditure in the Nkandla project, and also finalizing outstanding disciplinary and criminal matters. The department will also be implementing a consequence management unit to monitor the implementation of consequence management initiatives in the department. There must be consequences. Allow me to expand on two areas of particular concern. The one is the irregular appointment of staff to the department, and also the Telkom Towers debacle. I've recently been briefed on the outcome of the Public Service Commission investigation initiated by my predecessor, Mr. Thulas Nesi, into irregular staff appointments between April 2017 and March 2018. Phase 1 of the investigation has revealed that 11 of the 37 senior service managers were irregularly appointed, and the PSC recommended that corrective action be taken in terms of the disciplinary code and against members of staff who participated in the appointments. The PSC has further recommended that all the appointments be set aside. Now, phase 2 of the investigation concerned itself with the appointment of 677 staff at levels below senior management services. The preliminary findings point to 94 staff having been irregularly appointed, and I'm still awaiting the final report from the PSC. Where wrongdoing is identified, perpetrators must be held accountable for their actions. With regard to the Telkom Towers, I had a meeting with my colleague, Minister Kele, yesterday, The cost of the telecom towers have ballooned over the past 4 years, from 600 million to 1.6 billion. Whilst the police continue to wait to take occupation of the premises. So as an immediate action, I've instructed my department to withdraw all DPWI officials from the project. I've asked the Minister of Police to do the same, to withdraw all police officials, and that we appoint a project manager from outside to continue to monitor the process. So, we are hoping, and I await also information from the CEO of the Development Bank, because the Development Bank acted as an implementing agency here. We await information from the CEO so that we can conclude our own internal investigations that's currently underway. And in the meantime, I really feel sorry for our policemen and women. My department will also assess the current police accommodation at Veritas and Waghuis, where police are operating under terrible conditions. Some of those buildings have been condemned. And I really want to use this opportunity to apologize to the policemen and women for the conditions that they have to endure. But as from tomorrow, we're going out there to make an assessment. Chairperson, the looting must stop. As public servants, we must account to the people for the money that we spend. Under our audit, positive audit outcomes is a litmus test for this department to improve our performance to the citizens. The citizens give public confidence to the work of the department. And in this regard, I'm aware about the audit outcomes of the main vote and the PMTE. They've realized some improvements over a period of the turnaround strategy that started way back in 2012 by my predecessor. Chairperson, my goal, however, is that both the main vote and the PMT vote should achieve unqualified to clean audits outcome in this next financial year. And for this end, all senior managers in the department will have a clean audit as a key performance indicator in their performance agreement. Regarding professional skills and technical skills, which there is quite a lack of it in the department, the department has over the years strengthened its skills pipeline in relation to the built environment, professional and technical skills. And the interventions put in place include school-based programs where the department identifies a category of maths and science learners from schools in disadvantaged communities. These schools are then provided with support with enrichment programs to ensure that their maths and science results improve, especially to meet university entrance requirements. And the learners who embrace a career in the built environment are then placed by the department on a bursary program. The 80 students who joined our youth bursary scheme in 2014 have graduated and are currently enrolled in the internship and young professionals program within the department, and some of them are here tonight. Currently, together with the Council for Built Environment, the department is also supporting 333 more learners from disadvantaged communities as they start out on their journey to professional status in the built environment disciplines. In addition to that, 112 young professionals are participating in the department's technical candidacy program. 124 young professionals attained professional registration, and 306 artisan trainees obtained trade test certificate. So we are working to finalize the work for this financial year as we roll out a public works and infrastructure academy. This academy finds its place in the context of the state technical capacity building program, as was mandated by a cabinet lekgotla in July of 2015. With regard to policy development, the recent reconfiguration of the state will refocus the work currently underway in relation to the departmental policy reforms. We are busy with the review of the...
Honorable Minister, thank you very much.
I know.
Honorable Ntobongwana. The next speaker.
I will use the 10 minutes to finish my speech.
Honorable Minister,
Sorry.
unfortunately,
Yes. No, I
Your time
understand,
is up.
Chairperson.
it is way out.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Yes, no good.
The next person would be, the next speaker would be Honorable Ntobongwana.
Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Minister, Honorable Deputy Minister in absence, Honorable Members, Chairpersons of the Boards of Public Works entities, distinguished guests, fellow South Africans. I would also like to acknowledge the presence of the Eastern Cape MEC of Public Works, MEC Matikizela. Molweni ngolugaja. One of the greatest philosophers of history, Karl Marx, once said, if we have chosen the position in life, if we have chosen the position in life in which we can, most of all, work for mankind, no burdens can bow us down.
Honorable members, please do not drown the speaker.
Because they are sacrifices for the benefit of all, then we shall experience no petty, limited, selfish joy, but our happiness will belong to millions. Our deeds will live on quietly, but perpetually at work, and over our ashes will be shed the hot tears of noble people, close quote. This quote is befitting in particular for the Portfolio Committee of Public Works and Infrastructure, which has a responsibility to conduct oversight over a department that is a catalyst for socio-economic development and a significant driver in the creation of inclusive economy and job creation. If we work together as a collective, we shall experience no petty, limited, selfish joy, but our happiness will belong to millions of South Africans. Honorable members, in his June 2019 State of the Nation address, His Excellency President Ramaphosa indicated that this administration will focus on 7 key priority areas. The reconfigured Department of Public Works and Infrastructure in all its forms is therefore a catalyst for socio-economic development, which will contribute towards these overarching tasks. Well-planned and managed infrastructure enables established businesses to expand their production levels while encouraging small businesses to enter the market. It also promotes trade, supports economic concentration, and contributes to job creation. The department can only achieve its mandate if those elected to conduct oversight over it work together as a collective. Honorable members, the ANC-led government is committed to expedite infrastructure development. And as such, His Excellency President Ramaphosa, in February 2019 State of the Nation address, indicated that 100 billion rands has been set aside to seed the infrastructure fund. The Development Bank of Southern Africa and the newly configured Department of Public Works and Infrastructure, playing a coordinating role, will manage this fund. This shows our government's commitment in investing in infrastructure. Although this is not enough to address the under-serviced areas and addresses the imbalances of the past in our country, it will definitely eliminate some of the infrastructure backlogs. Honorable members, fraud and corruption continue to erode our social fabric and undermine our collective efforts to build a prosperous South Africa. The ANC-led government is committed to restore its integrity, credibility, and confront fraud and corruption, as well as state capture in all forms. It is upon this background that the department aims at good governance improvement and risk mitigation through its turnaround strategy, which is built on two pillars: the zero tolerance for corruption and improving the way it does its business. Working closely with SIU, the Governance Risk and Compliance Unit in the department, GRC, was able to announce significant successes in 2018 in the fight against corruption and collusion between corrupt officials and property owners, thus recovering monies incorrectly paid to landlords. In our portfolio committee, we were informed that the Anti-Corruption Unit, ACU, within the department conducted in 2018 252 investigations on a series of allegations of fraud and corruption. Of these, 223 cases have since been completed. 17 are at various stages of investigation, and 12 were referred to other law enforcement agencies. We were very pleased on this as the committee. It is worth noting that the fight against fraud and corruption must be a responsibility for all of us. We must fight fraud and corruption in the public and the private sector, across all racial, political, and gender lines, because it hinders development. We need to fight fraud and corruption here in Western Cape in the DA-led province. Honorable members,
order, honorable members, order. Order, please, order.
honorable members,
Honorable members, order.
honorable members,
Honorable members.
the Property Management Trading Entity, PMT, as an implementing arm of the department, also manages the Immovable Asset Register that records all immovable assets in line with the principles, best practices, and uniform immovable asset framework for the government as set out in the Government Immovable Asset Management Act, Giyama 19 of 2007. It is rather a huge concern that some of the state-owned properties stand fallow and remain unoccupied for a long period of time, giving an opportunity to be called white elephants, to illegal occupation, and sometimes harboring criminals who will do criminal activities. In the light of this, the Portfolio Committee has decided that it will closely monitor the process of ensuring that an effective, efficient, and fully functional immovable asset register is in place. Honorable members, the department must ensure that in all its programs, women, youth, and people with disabilities become the main beneficiaries. It must accelerate programs to advance transformation, particularly on the registered candidates and professionals of the 6 built environment professional councils. We were informed in the Portfolio Committee that of about 32,698 registered candidates and professionals, only about 8,170 are women. That cannot be accepted. This happens in a country where women are a majority, and that must be corrected. There is still more improvement that needs to be done in terms of the transformation agenda of the public work entities, because currently there is less emphasis on opportunities afforded to women in construction and the youth in particular, while the built environment remains white, male-dominated. Honorable members, the high unemployment rate remains a serious challenge among the young people in our country. The budget vote as an enabler must unlock job opportunities created by Department of Public Works and its entities. Job creation remains an apex priority of the ANC-led government. That is why the department continues to create more employment opportunities through its EPWP program and the small Haber development. The State Coastal Property Development Unit within the department needs to broaden its horizon in terms of the development of small harbors. We were informed that only 3 provinces so far are having this program: Western Cape, KwaZulu-Natal, and Northern Cape. The Eastern Cape is one of the provinces that has prospective, unproclaimed small harbors. For example, the Port St. John's municipality already has a small harbor development plan that was presented to the Portfolio Committee during its oversight visit in September 2018. If this can be development, it can create more job opportunities, boost the economy, and accelerate rural development in Port St. John's, Eastern Cape. There is a need for the department to strengthen its relations with other spheres of government to ensure intergovernmental coordination for the acceleration of poverty reduction through creation of employment opportunities. This will also contribute in ensuring that challenges of monies being owed to municipalities by department is a thing of the past. The revised expropriation bill, as part of restoring the dignity of our people and ensuring equitable ownership of rural and urban land, will be a catalyst in ensuring security of tenure. The ANC-led government remains resolute to address the land question. Let me repeat. The ANC-led government remains resolute to address the land question and imbalances of the past. Siyawufuna umhlaba wethu. The Department of Public Works and Infrastructure, as a custodian of government assets, remains central to this historical mission. If we work together as a collective, we shall experience no petty,
Honorable member.
limited,
thank you
selfish
very
joy,
much.
but our happiness will belong to
Thank you
millions
very
of South Africa. The ANC supports the budget vote. Thank you.
Mekopane with the next speaker. You're welcome.
Honorable House Chairperson, I would like to begin my speech by welcoming Minister Patricia de Lille to the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure. Your task will not be easy, but you have a responsibility to bring hope, dignity, and to build South Africa to be a better country for all of us. And for the benefit of our country, the Democratic Alliance will ensure that you succeed, because your failures will be our collective failures, as well as your success will be our collective success. Having listened to your speech, you started at the right direction. I would also like to acknowledge the presence of Minister of Public Works and Transport, Mr. Madikizela Mandela from the Western Cape. I personally undertake today that we are going to carry effective oversight on you as a minister and as a department, so that we cannot fail those
members.
who elected us.
Honorable members, order. Order, honorable members.
Last week,
Honorable members, Honorable Kopane, can you hold for a minute? Now you can continue the quiet.
last
On a
week,
point of order, Chair.
Who's calling for a point
Chair.
of order?
I'm here, Chair.
What is your point of order, honorable member?
There is no minister in the Eastern Cape called Madikizela Mandela.
Honorable member, that is not a point of order. Could you please take a seat?
it is clear that we have to educate so many people. In the Western Cape, we have ministers. I personally undertake today that we are going to carry an effective oversight over you, Minister,
Honorable
and
members.
your department.
Honorable members, we are here representing the aspirations of the people out there who would like to hear what we are saying. Could we therefore give them an opportunity to listen to the speaker?
Last week, the Portfolio Committee spent hours interrogating the departmental budget. The more we probe, the more I realize that we hear the same thing over and over. At the end of the day, nothing has happened or there's no change except the billions on the balance sheet. It is evident that the department is having major challenges. And Minister, you require a great oversight combined with the sound legislation if you wish to stem the current financial losses or troubles, even the wasteful expenditure within this department. My first concern regarding the department's mandate is that it's supposed to be the custodian and the portfolio manager of government immovable asset. I'm concerned that the department legal authority as a landlord of the state is somehow weakened in terms of its mandate due to the absence of empowering legislations that provide the necessary authority to act decisively. While your department is responsible for collecting management fee and ensuring that the maintenance management budget is ring-fenced, the absence of legislations allow the department and property management trading entity and independent development trust to spend funds without having been able to recover anything from other departments. As a result, it becomes difficult to complete the infrastructure projects. And that threatens also the sustainability of the department. And this also results in a failure to unlock the financial values of immovable assets held by government that required for the maximum benefit of our country. Your department is also responsible for spearheading the verification of debts owed to municipalities by national and provincial governments. But according to the Financial and Fiscal Commission report, both national and provincial governments, they failed to pay the municipalities. Shockingly, the top three defaulting department is Public Works at 2.7 billion, followed by Basic Education and Rural Development. The leading provincial department defaulter is also Public Works at 2.5 billion. That is amount to 69% of the provincial department debt to the council. My second concern regarding the ministerial houses, in a response to the DA parliamentary question, the former minister revealed that your department spent more than 45 million on the maintenance of ministerial houses in Cape Town and in Pretoria. This opulence, it clearly indicated the skewed priorities in your department. It is an insult to the poor and to the unemployed citizen. Why this renovation have been taken at such a great cost, while even the economy of the country, it is ailing? Someone must be held accountable, Minister. The taxpayers have spent millions on those mansions, whereas it cost ministers and deputy ministers between 900 rand and 1,200 rand per month. But what is more disgusting today than the misuse of those funds? Even today, currently, about 1.2 million is being owed to the department because ministers, they didn't pay. How did this happen? Your department failed to create the debit orders from their salary. Due to your own incompetence of the department. And now I ask you, the minister, how is your department planning to recover the funds from those ministers and MPs who resign? Lastly, I would like to talk about the PMTE, which is established in 2005 financial year. Its main responsibility is to manage immovable property as well as accommodation of the client's department by implementing the Government Immovable Asset Management Act and managing the immovable asset register. The register that needs to be updated and monitored regularly to ensure that it provides a true record of government immovable assets across all spheres of government in order to provide accurate balance sheet of government. To do this, the PMTE was allocated about 16.7 billion. I accept that there have been improvement, especially in the leasing portfolio. However, the entity still faces challenges because the department, other client departments, fails to make sure that they pay on time. And secondly, PMT structure itself, it doesn't also allow it to do its work efficiently due to the lack of required specialist skill that you mentioned here, which include the chartered accountant, property lawyers, etc. And currently the PMTE is having an acting head that is also bringing the instability. The Auditor General also is concerned about the PMT had a bank overdraft of 2.3 million as of 31st March 2018.
Thank you very much, Honorable
So the
Member.
liabilities of the PMT, they exceed the asset. Currently, it is
Honourable
bankrupt.
Member.
So we need your
Honourable
direction,
Member.
Honorable Minister.
Your time has expired. Thank you very much, Honorable Siwisa. Honorable Siwisa.
Honorable Chairperson, the Department of Public Works could arguably be the most strategic department in terms of driving a developmental agenda in this country. The EFF is of the firm view that the state should build internal capacity to construct and maintain infrastructure as roads, railways and dams, and basic infrastructures as schools, houses, hospitals, and recreational facilities. This will ensure sustained development and offer our people secure jobs. The Department of Public Works should be at the center of such state-led infrastructural development. At the moment, the Department of Public Works is currently the largest state owner in the country, holding over 5 million hectares of land. Of this land, over 1.5 million hectares are vacant and not used productively for anything. Rights to this land must immediately be redistributed to the black people across the country who remain landless and vulnerable to evictions every day by the ANC government. Remember Alexandra. Department of Public Works must also do an audit for all the government houses and report on where the rentals from these houses go. The entire suburb of West Bank in King Williamstown is made up of government houses built by the Eastwell Homeland Government of the Ciskei. Most of these houses, Minister, have been fraudulently transferred to the ownership of ANC politicians. These houses must be taken back. Wait. These houses must be taken back and given to people who need houses the most, not these leechers who live on sucking public funds. We also call for the immediate permanent employment of the hundreds of thousands of EPWP workers whose terms of employment only perpetuate their suffering and vulnerabilities because some of them don't even know their job description. These EPWP workers be immediately put to use in building roads, repair dilapidated schools and hospitals on a permanent basis with full benefits and paid a living wage. The other reason why we say let's do away with EPWP is because municipalities are using EPWP to replace trained, experienced workers who have been working in these municipalities for years and now are being replaced by exploited and poorly paid workers. If ours has to be a developmental, people-oriented state, we must build internal capacity to perform state functions without outsourcing these functions to a corrupt clique of white-owned companies or those owned by the comprada bourgeoisie that is found in the ANC at the moment. To this end, we have called and continue to call for the establishment of state-owned construction companies, a state cement company, a state-owned housing company. The government must build its own buildings and stop paying inflated prices on rentals. A strong public works department should necessarily have political power and technical capacity to give developmental mandates to their state-owned companies, such as the Construction Industry Development Bond, to fast-track transformation and ensure broad-based skilling of young and black professionals in the sector. We have a crisis at IDT. As is, the budget does not offer any significant change to the way public works has overworked over the past 25 years. It fails to unleash the true developmental potential this department has and deprives the nation of massive benefits that can be accrued where this department conceptualized as a truly developmental department that it should be. Minister, we can assure you here free of charge that one of the most important fights you are going to have with us this term is for the ill-conceived expropriation bill that has been championed by the anti-land expropriation Deputy Minister Jeremy Cronin. Right in the middle of the debate, the amendments to the Constitution to allow land expropriation, the department under the leadership of Cronin decided to release their draft to convert the process of amending the Constitution. Why would the department want to waste public resources undergoing public participation for a bill whose content and form are dependent on Section 25 of the Constitution? Proposal contained in the bill, which seemingly categorizes the type of land could be expropriated with minimal compensation, are only attempt to ensure that the amendments proposed become superficial. It is despicable that the professed Marxist would want to maintain the current unsustainable manner of landholding in this country. The bill must be shelved, Minister, and await the amendment of Section 25. On that note, Minister, we reject the budget.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable members, Honorable Ngumalo. Honorable members, Honorable member, you may take your seat, please.
Honorable
Proceed.
Chairperson,
Proceed, Honorable member.
Honorable Minister, Honorable members. The Inkatha Freedom Party is concerned that the budget for this department will not adequately and fairly achieve: one, growth of economy and job creation through the expanded public works program; number two, adequate training for skills to be used to alleviate poverty in the long term. Number three is the sustained maintenance of existing and growing number of state-owned infrastructure. The EPWP is a program that has rightly criticized in the past years for its unfair patronage to ANC supporters, whereby councillors reward only card-carrying members of the ANC with jobs and skills. This is unconstitutional, as all South Africans have a right to equality and non-discrimination on the basis of political belief and association. The IFP calls for more transparent, fair and non-partisan process to be developed for the recruitment of the expanded public works workers. We want all people of South Africa to be given a chance for their future through this program, and not only to be used as a tool to promote and advance the mere political agenda of the governing party. In sticking with the EPWP, we also believe that the current program does not adequately provide the necessary skills that translate into poverty alleviation. To alleviate poverty, the program must ensure that the skills transfer and training given to people must enable them to practically apply these skills without the dependency of massive cooperation and the EPWP itself. In other words, people must be able to practically use these skills to create startup businesses. The EPWP must work and be further skilled to further skills the artisan trades that will equip people to be able to efficiently access resources, and more importantly, human rights through infrastructure they can have created. Top skills or talented workers must be actively identified by the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure and EPWP itself, and be given the relevant support by the Department of Small Business Development to fully capacitate startup businesses. We want to see the success of small startup businesses and South Africa that will eventually start to cripple to credible long-term job creation of the GDP. Minister, the President has decided to add the responsibility of infrastructure to your department. Therefore, you find yourself in a very strategic position to stimulate the economy and reduce the tax burden on citizens by generating your own income for the department through rentals or sales of buildings. When the department has developed new buildings intended to replace old ones, they must vacate the offices within 2 months after all permits and safety inspection have been approved. Furthermore, all the sites must be sold, or if the state wishes to keep the land, then it must be either repurposed for land reform, such as social housing under the 99-year lease arrangement, or be placed up for rental for a maximum of 99 years. In this way, the department will start to generate additional income for itself and reduce the requirements for taxpayers to fork out the maintenance of buildings that are obsolete. Furthermore, it has the potential to start the integration of people into major urban environments. Minister, you often speak about South Africans working together to achieve a prosperous future. The IFP would like to hold you to this and state for the record that we request you to work with the IFP to further develop this modeling, which will ensure a success in your department and a success in your term of office. What is more, Minister, we must continually engage the private sector to help lead the transformation of infrastructure toward a green and a more sustainable future. South Africa is currently burdened with the huge expenses of having to promote a more inclusive nation, and a little focus is paid towards ensuring a sustainable future. A sustainable future will further unlock job opportunities and sectors that South Africa can become specialists in. A sustainable future will further unlock opportunities and sectors that South Africa can become specialists in, so that we do not train the development of the world for the next 100 years. The department has requested 7.8 billion rand for this year and expects an increase to this budget in 2 years by over $1 million. We'll support this year's budget in 2 years by 1 billion. We will support this budget by the project increase will be assisted by the methods we mentioned above. The legacy created for the future starts today, and we want to push the development and the economy of South Africa to the next level. The IFP supports this budget as a sign to show our willingness to work together. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. Honorable Van Staden.
Geachte voorzitter, minister, leden van het parlement, gasten op de galerij. Die VF+ neemt kennis van die departementse begrotingstoewijzing voor die 2019-20 boekjaar. Maar wat ons bekommerd maakt is die achtbare minister se aankondiging die afgelopen tijd in die media, waar nie bestaande toerusting deur die departement vir openbare werke in stand gehou moet word en dat daar 'n samespanning is tussen amptenare en diensverskaffers met die uithuur van staatseiendom. Die feit dat die minister erken het dat die departement deurspek is van korrupsie en bedrog en dat die spesiale ondersoekeenheid en die valke betrek moet word om hierdie korrupsie te laat uitroei, laat alle rooi ligte flikker. Dit bewys dat indien die korrupsie nie uitgeroei gaan word nie, die belastingbetaler se swaarse verdiende geld maar net weer verder vermors gaan word en in die sakke gaan beland van misdadigers. Die VF+ sal graag wil sien dat hierdie ondersoeke spoedig geloods word om sodoende te sorg.
On a point of order. You know, this is a very undisturbing language. I want to listen to a proper languages, but I can't get my translation. So can we be assisted, please, with due respect?
Point of order.
I will recognize you. I'm still trying to address this one. Press number 2, then you will get the language that you wanted.
Chair, the only languages that are provided for is English and Afrikaans. It's very difficult for some of our members to get those languages. So can you please assist us to get translation?
Thank you. We'll raise the matter with the language services to come and assist. No, proceed.
Madam House Chair,
I didn't recognize you. Sit down, honorable member. Sit down. You may proceed.
House Chair, I rise in terms of Rule 85. And I agree completely what the member has said. There should be language services available. It is a disgrace that they're not available if that is the case. So I concur there. But what you can't do is say that somebody's language is whatever it was referred to, in the disturbing, or whatever it was referred at. There are 11 official languages in this country. They all have equal status. They must all be respected in this House. We must respect each other's languages if this House is to prevail.
Honorable Mokwele. Honorable Mokwele. Honorable Mokwele, have you said that?
Exactly, I said that. I was part of the young lions who fought for Africans. So I will never respect Africans as much as they don't respect my language.
Honorable Mokwele. Honorable Mokwele, may you please retract from that statement?
Which one must I retract?
That one about the language.
No, I'm not respecting Africans. It's my democratic right not to respect Africans. I don't respect it. It is my democratic right not to respect Africans. No one will force me to respect Africans. No one. As much as he cannot speak my language, I cannot speak his or respect his language. I will never retract from that, Honorable Chair, with due respect.
Honorable members, honorable members, honorable member, honorable member, may you please listen when I call you? Please, this is the debate of the House. You need to assist. You assist the minister to listen to what you are trying to say. But if everyone is speaking, even the minister can't hear what you're trying to say. So I was just saying, reduce your voices. I don't say you mustn't speak, but reduce what you are saying. You're speaking loud. Honorable Mokwele.
Mama J.
I should think you must do what other people will do unto you. Don't do unparliamentary and say the hate speech. Please do try to minimize your language, because all of us here, we've got feelings. Try to minimize, because we need to be on the same path, because we are debating. We are not debating about race and whatever. So I would like you to respect other people as much as they will respect you.
I hear you. Ke a go utlwa, Mama Jane, ke go utlwa sentle. Ene ke na le maikarabelo a gore ke ikokobetse mo mongwe le mongwe o leng moagi wa Afrika Borwa. Mare se nka se ke nka se dira, Mama Jane, ke gore o mpateletse gore ke amogele gore ke accepte kgotsa ke amogele Afrikaans language. It's my right. I'm repeating it. It's my right that I cannot respect the language that was used to oppress me and my mother and my forefathers. I cannot do that.
Honorable
It's within
Mokwele.
my right.
Honorable Mokwele, you may take your seat. Proceed, honorable member.
Dankie voorsitter.
Madam House Chair. I rise on a point of privilege, if that is the case, because every member of this House stood on this floor before the Chief Justice and swore to uphold the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa. Section 30 and 31 of the Constitution, which Honourable Member swore to uphold, says that any member can practice and exercise their language rights of any of their languages. No one's asking her to speak Afrikaans, but what we're asking in this House is that we respect each other's languages and don't refer in a derogatory manner to members who speak in their home language. The Constitution recognizes and respects home languages. Members of the House who swore to uphold this Constitution must respect other people's languages.
Honorable members, is what I have requested, Honorable Mokwele, because there's no one who is forcing another one to speak his or somebody's language. So I wanted us to treat each other fairly so. not to undermine other people's language. So I think I will refer it to the chairperson. We may
Point of
I will
order.
refer it to the
Point of
chairperson.
order, Chair. Point of order, Chairperson.
Honorable
You
members.
like me?
Honorable
Chair, point
members.
of order, Chairperson.
No, I didn't recognize you. I'm still speaking,
I'm
Honorable.
asking you to recognize
I'm
me,
saying I'm
please.
still speaking. Honorable members, we must check your language on number 8, if it's working. May we proceed?
Point of order,
On a point of
Chairperson.
order, Chairperson.
Honorable member.
Thank you, Chairperson. As a presiding officer in this House, you had an instruction that the member must withdraw that statement. And you have to enforce the rules in the House. You made the order that the member must withdraw. And if the member cannot withdraw, then you have to take it further than that. We cannot just move over it. Thank you.
You didn't hear me, honorable members. I have said I will come to that issue. May we proceed?
Voorzitter, die VF+ sal graag wil sien dat hierdie ondersoeke spoedig geloods word om sodoende te sorg dat korrupte amptenare totaal en al uitgeroei word en die straf kry wat hulle verdien. Voorzitter, die VF+ is bekommerd dat die departement 'n bedrag van sowat 193 miljoen wil bestee in hierdie finansiële jaar aan die huur van nuwe vloerspasie vir 10 verskillende departemente. Ons wil aanvoer dat dit dalk eerder wyser vir die staat sal wees om eerder geboue aan te koop, want eiendomme is 'n belegging en 'n bate vir die toekoms. Die minister moet dalk ook gaan kyk.
Honorable member, may you take your seat? What is that order?
Chairperson, nathi ngapha asiva nokuthini ubaba lo ezethu languages azikho lapha ya.
Honorable members, ungubaba lo. Honorable member.
Oh, honorable, yes. Sorry.
Sizayilungisa. Sizayilungisa, hlala phansi sizakhuluma nabo bayilungisa. May you proceed, honorable member?
Die minister moet ook dalk gaan kyk aan wie behoort hierdie geboue wat die departement wil huur, want dalk skuil daar ook nog 'n paar korrupsierotte wat verder uitgeroei kan word. Chairman, the announcement by the minister that she wants to inspect the asset register to locate all state-owned buildings is a bit worrying. This is an indication that the state business is not exactly in order. The upgrading of clinics, hospitals, police stations, schools and other state-owned buildings is a matter that deserves urgent attention so that we do not see a repeat of the tragedies that happened the past 5 years, like the Hoërskool Driehoek tragedy, the collapse of hospital, Charlotte Maseke roof in Johannesburg, the burning of government buildings and offices, and the burning of police flats, which was happening this past weekend in Johannesburg. The Freedom Front Plus would like to see that the minister deploys structural engineers to all schools, clinics, hospitals, and all other state-owned buildings to determine the current state of all these buildings and to start with upgrading and repairs in the case when these buildings are found to be unfit for humans to visit and work in. People and children's lives need to be protected and the public is tired of tragedies. Die regering se plan met die skep van megastede is 'n resep vir rampspoed, aangesien die huidige stede en dorpe nie eens in stand gehou kan word nie. Die minister het ook hieroor aangekondig dat die privaat sektor betrokke moet raak by die bou en instandhouding van infrastruktuur vir 'n tydperk van 20 jaar, waardan dit weer aan die staat oorgedra moet word. Met die huidige toestand van munisipaliteite, waar dienslewering totaal agteruit gegaan het weens die swak bestuur en ineenstorting van infrastruktuur, soos in die geval van Mfuleni, Mogale City, Bloemfontein en ander dorpe, kan die VF+ nie sien hoe die skep van megastede gaan help om hierdie probleem op te los nie. En 'n goeie voorbeeld daarvan is dat die Mfuleni Stadsraad in Gauteng spandeer nie sy municipal infrastructure grant in 'n jaar, finansiële jaar nie. Dit is 'n groot kommer. Die VF+ is van mening dat so 'n stap bestaande stede in 'n groter gemorseldompel as wat tans die geval is. Indien die privaat sektor nie in die minister se voorstel gaan inkoop nie, sal hierdie plan van megastede die huidige rampspoedige situasie net vererger. Reeds begin die rooi ligte hieroor flikker met die huidige ontwikkeling van Briekville aan die Wesrand, waar grond gevaarlik is vir menslike gebruik weens insinkings en dolomiet. Hierdie grond is aangekoop deur die Mogale City munisipaliteit vir 'n bedrag van R63 miljoen, terwyl die waarde daarvan maar slegs R2.9 miljoen is. Die megastad ontwikkeling van Daggafontein aan die Oosrand word ook gekenmerk deur bekommernisse van die publiek wat al sedert 2017 nie aangehoor word en terugvoering gegee word nie. By beide hierdie ontwikkelings is die openbare deelnameprosesse nie reg volgens die wet uitgevoer nie en weer eens word projekte deurgestoomroller wat erge gevolge vir die toekoms kan inhou. It is good to have ideals for the future, but if one takes South Africa's current political circumstances, with mismanagement and corruption into account, it is clear that the idea of building megacities, like in the United States, for example, is simply not attainable, especially not under ANC rule. The FF Plus first want to see existing infrastructure being upgraded and properly maintained and managed before government starts dreaming about megacities. Voorsitter, ek sluit af. Dit is uiters noodsaaklik dat ons bestaande paaie-netwerke en die nodige aandag kry om ons padverbruikers 'n veilige netwerk te gee om te kan beweeg van punt A na punt B. Dit is ook uiters noodsaaklik dat ons skole, hospitale, klinieke en ander staatsgeboude in stand gehou moet word om die verdere verval van ons infrastrukture te bekamp. Behuising kan nie geskep word sonder die nodige infrastrukture van paaie, stormwater, riool, elektrisiteit, klinieke, skole, polisiestasies en hospitale soos wat tans in Gauteng gebeur nie. Nuwe infrastrukture wat wel geskep word, moet in gebruik geneem word en nie soos in die geval in Gauteng waar taxi-staanplekke opgerig is teen 'n bedrag van R79 miljoen al voor 2014 en nog nie eens in gebruik geneem is nie. Suid-Afrika moet aantreklik gemaak word vir internasionale beleggers om op kapitaal hier te kom belê. Kom ons ruk Suid-Afrika reg. Kom ons maak ons land aantreklik. Kom ons sit skouer aan die wiel en gryp in om verdere verval van alle netwerke te verhoed. Kom ons red Suid-Afrika, kom ons bou Suid-Afrika. Dankie, voorsitter.
Thank you very much. Honorable Frank.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, the African Christian Democratic Party, respecting all languages, cultures, and race groups, acknowledges the budgetary allocation of some 7.8 billion of the Department of Public Works and 16.7 billion for the property management trading entity. By its own admission, the Department of Public Works has a weakened mandate due firstly to the absence of legislation, which would enable it to properly act as the landlord of the state, and secondly, not completing the review of the Public Works white papers of 1997 and 1999, which resulted in other departments setting up their own construction and maintenance programs. Clearly, all is not well in the department. Of great concern to the ACDP are the Auditor General of South Africa's 2017-18 audit outcomes of the department and its entities. Of the 6 entities, only one, the Council for the Built Environment, received a clean audit. The worst performing entity is the IDT, receiving a disclaimer audit opinion for 2017-18 due primarily to the fact that, firstly, its systems are inadequate to provide assurance. Secondly, matters which resulted in qualifications in the previous year remain unresolved. Thirdly, additionally, the Auditor General reported that on fraud and consequence management in the IDT, investigations were done, but recommendations were not implemented. The root causes identified by the Auditor General for all of the entities except the CBE include inadequate responses to improving key controls and addressing risk areas, inadequate consequences for poor performance and transgressions, instability or vacancies in key positions. Chairperson, our country is facing serious financial challenges. Unemployment is sitting at over 27% on the narrow definition. We have the highest Gini coefficient, making South Africa the most unequal nation on the planet. We have a deficit on our national account, and our debt to GDP has surpassed 50% and projected to reach about 60% in the next 2 years. The economy has contracted. In the first quarter of 2019, the biggest quarterly fall since the global financial crisis of 2009. The Department of Public Works has a huge role to play in improving the lives of ordinary South Africans by contributing to GDP growth, creating meaningful jobs for the millions of unemployed, improving our skills base through expanded public works program, and by giving heed to the discrepancies raised by the Auditor General. As we did in the pre-budget vote processes, the ACDP will continue to hold this department to account. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. Honorable Mahau.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. What I will advise you, Honorable Minister, is to have the National Integrated Infrastructure Master Plan that will give you an authority to control all the infrastructure that is taking place, cutting across all the departments. And again, the maintenance budget. As the custodian of all the immovable property, there is no way that the maintenance budget is not within the Department of Public Works. So all the maintenance budget must be in your department, not lying around with health or your education, so that you are able to make a point that the buildings of e-government are maintained. On the issue of EPWP, there is third phase on Public Works, which is clear about changing the temporal part of EPW to sustainable jobs, if it can be implemented as such, that can at least have impact on the jobs that are being created. This department must take the lead in providing the guidance in transforming property sector, using government portfolio guidance in transforming this sector. Then the National Treasury must be lobbied to develop a framework for property acquisition as it relates to the leasing in of accommodation to advance the transformation agenda. Establishment of a single immovable asset register repository for uniform reporting and informed decision is critical, Honorable Minister. The confirmation of vesting in terms of constitution is compulsory to deal with an asset. However, the delay on issuing this certificate from Rural Development Department is a crisis. How I wish, Honorable Minister, you can lobby the Minister of Rural Development and Agrarian Reform to delegate this function to the chief directors at a provincial level so that it can fast-track the service delivery. On CIDB, the whole system is unacceptable, especially the issue of downgrading of emerging contractors. Because I saw to sabo into abangafumani imisebenzi. You know, these poor emerging contractors, how does it go 6, they downgrade through this system of the CIDP. The sooner the better, Minister, you review CIDP rules that will assist a lot. And it contradicts with the contractor development program. The department on this side have got contractor development program. On the other hand, the CIDP rules degrade the same contractors that are being developed.
Thank you very
so
much,
the sooner the
Honorable
better.
Mahau.
Thank you very much. The ATM supports the vote budget.
Thank you. Thank you. Honorable Graham.
Thank you, House Chair. Minister Patricia de Lille, amongst your first statements as the new Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure was a stipulation that you would not be buying new furniture for the ministers and members of Parliament. I'm sure that the children sitting in Graafrenet in temporary classrooms amidst the rubble of demolished buildings, waiting for their new school to be built, are absolutely thrilled that Deputy Minister Kiviet will not be getting a new couch this year.
Sadly, while a laudable sentiment and a very tiny step in the right direction, this department as a whole requires a major overhaul. In the 2017-18 financial year, Public Works spent 99% of its budget to only achieve a 55% target. Why? Part of the reason is two chronically outdated white papers as the only form of guiding legislation for a department with a 7.8 billion rand budget. And it will get worse this financial year if we do not provide legislative clarity for the department, especially with the newly incorporated infrastructure mandate from the President. The Public Works Bill must be finalized as a matter of priority. In addition, legislation governing the independent trust must be drafted urgently. This entity is responsible for the implementation of social infrastructure of schools, clinics, and courts. Financially mandated with over 4 billion rands worth of programs, the IDT is supposed to be self-supporting, but is operating at a shockingly huge deficit, 92 million rand for the 2018 financial year. Once again, a lack of legislative clarity and mandate have rendered this entity toothless. It competes against other government departments for contracts, and it is unable to recover monies owed to it due to a lack of enforcement mechanisms, no real mandate, and no legislation to guide it. Minister, in developing the strategic management plan for this department, the Department of Transport and Public Works in the Democratic Alliance-run Western Cape provides valuable examples of where to begin. Their infrastructure framework, which allows for coordinated and strategic infrastructure planning, is one such starting point. By starting with a framework, it will be easier to develop legislation to clarify the roles and functions of the entities, to avoid duplication of programs, and to promote integrated cooperation between organizations. Then, like the DA-led Western Cape, you would develop and reform your department to maximize the strengths and capacities of each entity. Integration of strategic programs as the next phase of DA-driven reform would then ensure that the entities are working in unison to develop sustainable, high-quality social infrastructure in a transformed, built environment with an emphasis on skills transfer, women and youth empowerment, consistent job creation, and work opportunities. None of these outcomes can be achieved without legislative reform. And your aspirations, as espoused this evening, for an unqualified or clean audit in this financial year can never be realized without a legislative framework. So, Minister de Lille, unless you and the department give an undertaking to embark on a program of legislative reform, this department and its entities are doomed to languish in perpetual chaos, failing to deliver services to all our people, and most notably the poorest of the poor. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Shabalala. Welcome.
Thank you, Chairperson, honorable members, honorable Minister, the Deputy in absentia, with a formidable department team led by the DG. I wish to dedicate my debate to those elderly people, 2 of them who perished whilst attending the voting stations. Theirs was an anticipation of a non-racial, non-sexist democratic South Africa. They endorse a transformation agenda as President, His Excellency President Ramaphosa outlines. One of the strategic priorities of which is the economic transformation, job creation, building a social cohesion and safer communities. We can only achieve to honor those who sacrifice through a capable, ethical, developmental interventionist, efficiently responsive to the subjective conditions. The dictate of that state is a professionalism, stability, to foster certainty which demonstrates high morale. I stand firm on behalf of the ANC to support this budget vote 11. Izinhlelo zomnyango asikhulume ngezimo zokubulalana kwemphakathi koPhilip koNew Hanover, a paralyzed community living under a curfew at East Section Ezakeni, a life of a protest in Alexander Soweto, ekuvukeni, women and the youth in these areas represents a grim face of poverty, characterized by high unemployment. In 2016, Don Pinnock, one of the journalists, made an assertion, I quote, violence, drugs is a desperate attempt to escape frightening emptiness, close quote. To mitigate the above, umongameli evula iparlamente kulonyaka ubeka ingqalasizinda nesamba sika 100 billion we infrastructure engaphansi ka DBSA nokuhlanganiswa kwe public works and infrastructure. The enabling factors of the subjective conditions of our people, the assets. Section 38 of PFMA and FMA 63(1)A makes all embracing reference to assets. Siyavuma umonakalo uhulumeni wabandlululo with Treasonous Act of not handing over proper asset register. Kodwa ke inkombandlela ka 2003 asset management framework igcizelela ukuthi the decision be integrated in the strategic planning. Noma ke si cothoza kangaka manje ke sesilapha city department khawulesa. Umhlaba kahulumeni awulekelele kwidabi lezokulima nokuhlaliswa komphakathi ukuze kuzuza besifazane abavele belima emakhaya iziqephu ezincane zomhlaba ukuze bakwazi ukuthi bandise isivuno sabo. To avoid material findings, we need to get the asset register right. EIDT regional offices must be given necessary support with aligned APP of national and regions. Procurement skills audit be done at regions to ensure to ensure a proper procurement plan, proper set aside for women empowerment. Asikwazi ukutshela abantu bakithi ukuthi sithi silethe i-delivery yama-suspensions, arbitrations, internal instability characterized by duplications between national and regions, and breach of ethical protocols and hierarchy. There needs to be a compliant. According to the Deeds of Trust, Section 2001, Section 10, there shall all times be at least 8 trustees. I hope that in due time, Honorable Minister, uzokwazi ukubhekana nalena ngoba akwazeki ukuthi kuthatheke izinqumo abantu bengasakwazi nokufoma iquorum. CBE and agreement. Kuyancomeka ukuphathwa kwezimali ngaphandle kokuthi uma ke sesibheka kufanele sikulinganise lokho nesikubona ngamehlo phecelezi tangible impact. Izinamba zibe namehlo zithinte laba abantu besifazane abazabalaza against imgulukudu ebulala abantwana babo abavuka njalo ekseni bemashe ekubuyiseni izidaladi esezithathwe imgulukudu. Intsha ebhajwe kwa e-section ezakheni New Hanover, Alex Soweto ekuvukeni. A responsive interventionist, rationalized and de-racialized incremental targets, inclusive of young and the women. The 2018 October Economic Summit must be integrated into your plans with needed partnership of the participants in that summit. Opening an invite to innovation products by women and youth to mitigate the effect of climate change with adverse consequences to physical structure in the future. Innovation must be a stimulus to job creation. Sihlalo wekomiti kuyacaca ukuthi umnyango lo esibhekelele ukusebenza kwawo as an oversight arm uzoba nohlelo lokudidiyela kabusha phecelezi configuration lapho kuhlanganiswa khona public works ne infrastructure Enye yemsebenzi yethu sidinga i-update from time to time. Sidinga isikhathi because we hit the road running. Asikwazanga ukuthola the finer details, and we need these finer details so that we are able to go back to the people who gave us the mandate. Sibatshele ukuthi kwenzakalani kuli department, but also assisting in shaping the strategy of the department and also make the contribution in their APPs. Sidinga ukuzwa ama-turnaround strategies ezihlisa izinga lama ukuze sibone ukuthi umnyango uyakwazini ukwehlisa amazinga ama-consultant, instead kuvuleke izikhala zokuqasha abantu besifazane nentsha. Sidinga ukuqala ama-programs e-PMTE ngesibalo sabesifazane abahlomulayo ne-ownership 2019-2020 targets, and should also speak to subjective condition nezinombolo ezibalulwe ngumongameli kwinkulumo mgomo. Ama requirements e-CIDP ayadinga ukuthi abukwe namahhovisi njengoba izosendeza eduzane kwezifundazwe kuzosiza kakhulu. Kodwa this CIDP is ama participants akhona, or shall I say i-capturishwe i-cartel, because if uCIDP 4 uyakwazi ukuyobhidela umsebenzi ka-CIDP 1, kodwa uCIDP 1 akakwazi ukuyobhidela u4, kusho ukuthi labo abanako bohlala njalo benako, abangenako bohlala njalo bengenako. Abesifazane nentsha bazithola bebekwe eceleni uma behlehliswa ama-grades ngenxa yokungawutholi umsebenzi. Akukho emandleni abo ukuthi umsebenzi bayawuthola noma bawutholini. They don't have the control over this. Sengikushilo konke lokhu, lest we forget our people have not given us their vote to start searching for options, but they have given us the ultimatum. We dare not fail them. I thank you.
Siyabonga, ma'am. Honorable Sheikh Imam can take the podium.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair. The National Freedom Party welcomes the report on the Department of Public Works, Vote 11, tabled here today. Honorable Chairperson, this department, and I think maybe I should address the Minister. Minister, I'm sure at sometimes in your life, you might have visited an intensive care unit of a hospital. Now, if you went there, you will know what it is to be in an intensive care. Now, your department, in my view, and the view of the NFP, is in the intensive care unit right now. For the last couple of years, we've been getting all kinds of promises that they're going to get their house in order, and very little or nothing has been happening. Now, you speak about infrastructure, and a lot more money must be spent on infrastructure. And I want to disagree there. Before you want more money to spend on infrastructure, spend the money that you're already getting on infrastructure, and that is what they don't do. Infrastructure more often than not underspends in South Africa, and that is one of the problems. But let me also tell you the other problem in terms of infrastructure. And if you do oversight visits, you will find contracts all over the country that are at a standstill, because contractors do not have the financial resources to import these goods that they import from America, India, and China. As a result, these jobs just stand. So you need a new model if we want to give to contractors and they're not able to get the resources. Maybe you should allow them to provide the labor, and government should be able to do something different in terms of providing the material. Otherwise, these major contracts just stand. That's the other problem. Now, one of the challenges and the concerns that I have in terms of land, Minister. Now, you have got a very responsible department, and I'm of the understanding that you are going to make land available. And I know that the Minister of Human Settlement yesterday is looking forward to that, particularly for housing. What we don't want to see, Minister, is what happened when you were the mayor of the city of Cape Town, where prime land was being sold to international developers and things. We need to put the poorest of the poor first before anything. That is very, very important. Now, Another major challenge we have is two things in terms of the asset register. It is my understanding that this department does not know where and what properties we own, not only locally but also internationally. And this matter has been going on for a very long time. Added to that is the issue of the telecom towers. We've been dealing with this matter in the Appropriations Committee, called in Public Works, all kinds of promises. Very little or nothing is happening. Now my concern is that you are now inheriting a department with the same officials, exactly the same people, only a new minister. So I'm not convinced, but I'll be objective and optimistic, try to be optimistic, and we'll support this on the basis that you'll do good and turn this department around. The National Freedom Party will support it.
Honorable Hicklin.
Honourable Chairperson, in conducting proper oversight into whether the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure is following its mandate of whether or how allocated budgets are employed to achieve stated policy objectives, we find that the department has fallen very short of its mandate. In dealing with outcome 4, which offers decent employment through inclusive growth, the DPWI during Q3 struggled to make any real progress at all, as it only looked at reaching an additional 1.1 million people. Countrywide, the Extended Public Works Programme is supposed to provide an important avenue for labour absorption and income transfers to poor households in short or medium term. It has, unfortunately, not done that and has underperformed dramatically. An underperformance which, at this rate, will sadly see South Africa drowning in youngsters looking towards the EPWP programme as a career path, not as a stepping stone to inclusion and upliftment in a formal work environment. While President Ramaphosa, in his State of the Nation address of 20 June, asserted that the ANC has done much to meet the needs of people's basic needs, to reduce poverty and to transform a devastated economy, I am asking you, Mr. President, for evidence, tangible evidence. Minister De Lille, what we need is a comprehensive job seekers database, opportunity centres that work to transfer skills, sustainable economic growth, and equal opportunity for all our youth, as advocated by the Democratic Alliance. Instead, the evidence shows that our economy is not growing and not enough jobs are being created. Our devastated country currently has over 9 million unemployed people, most of them youth. In the DA-led city of Johannesburg, evidence shows that in excess of 189,000 net jobs were created in just 1 year. Similar evidence can be found in the DA-led Western Cape and in the DA-led municipality in Tshwane. These job increases have resulted from proactive job creation, not pipe dreams with no substance. Minister De Lille, the
Honourable
5-year
member,
DPI current
Thank
target.
you very much.
I just want to say you have your work cut out for you. Thank you.
Honourable TV Mashele, you are the next speaker.
House Chair, Honourable Minister, members of the Portfolio Committee on Public Works Infrastructure, members of the National Assembly, vaakatiko va Afrika Dzonga. I value greatly the opportunity to participate in this debate this evening. My standing in this podium for the first time is a testament to the maturity of our evolving democracy. I stand here, House Chair, inspired by the wisdom of the great Thomas Sankara, who called on us to have the courage to turn our back on the old formulas and the courage to invent the future. In constitutional democracies like ours, the future announces itself through the unending entry of new members into the corridors of power. It is thus a great privilege for me to stand before you today, this evening, to be part of those who have the courage to invent the future of our country. This budget vote, House Chair, comes 20 days since the President of the Republic, President Cyril Ramaphosa, invoked the revolutionary command of Che Guevara, who also called upon us to be realistic and do the impossible. Being realistic demands that we must always be mindful of the difficult conditions our people face on a daily basis. Daring to the impossible means that we must not be afraid to imagine a better future for our country, and we must not be discouraged by those that are accusing us of dreaming. There are some amongst us here who are buried deep in the rumble of blinding immediacy. These are the people who scream at the top of their voices, begging the president not to invent a better future for our country, asking him not to dream. Such people want us to accept that the difficulties that we face today are the obstacles of tomorrow. The blind eyes of their imagination cannot see a way out of the current challenges. These nincompoops, House Chair, are happy to sing songs and choruses about the unchangeability of the current conditions, as if we are not capable of rising above our current circumstances and incapable of building an ideal future for South Africa. 64 years ago, a group of visionary South Africans met in Kliptown, Soweto, to invent a future for our country. Back then, there were the very same idiots who dismissed these revolutionaries gathering in Kliptown, calling them daylight dreamers. When they announced the Freedom Charter, honorable members, the very same people who shout against the dreams of today are the biggest beneficiaries of the dreams of 1955. Even though they clearly deserve it, it will be unparliamentary for me to call them nincompoops or idiots. The vision outlined by the president is not a pie in the sky. It is rooted firmly in the concrete realities of Africa and the people. The National Development Plan, with its over 1,100 indicators, provide a practical blueprint towards the national democratic society. As part of the practical work that the president invited us to do, we are today afforded an opportunity to support the budget of 7.8 billion for the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure. By approving this budget, House Chair, we plead our support to Sihle Mavimbela, who expects good quality health care when she goes for a life-saving operation at Rob Ferreira Hospital in Mpumalanga. We are responding to Che Guevara's call to be realistic by approving this budget so that Fezidinga Mavata of Kofimvaba in the Eastern Cape may have the required infrastructure to receive better education. This budget is an instrument at our disposal to ensure that our government can build more roads that connect remote villages with our towns, as well as towns and our cities. With this budget, the ideal of turning South Africa into a model for economic development on the African continent can be realized. Our country needs this budget to build a critical infrastructure for our economy to thrive, for us to create jobs, to improve the livelihoods of our people. Honorable members, in this harsh economic condition, Tiani Makubela of Bushbuck Region, Mpumalanga, looks upon the Public Works Program for creating job opportunities. In the last financial year, the department created over 900,000 EPWP work opportunities. The department must be encouraged to create more opportunities for our people. Just like Tiani, many young people in our country are encouraged to hear that the Department of Public Works Infrastructure will create 1,200 skills development opportunities. Other young people across South Africa, such as Vusim Kiz of Mtubatuba and KwaZulu-Natal, must be excited that the department will give 150 bursaries towards qualifications in the built environment. This is not a dream, it's a realistic step in advancing the national democratic society. Many young South Africans out there cannot wait for us to approve this budget so that the department can swiftly roll out programs aimed at developing young professionals, like providing artisan training, support internships and learnerships, as well as providing support to management trainees. These and other similar development programs will benefit over 1,500 young people in the country. Honorable members, we expect improvements from this department. Last year, they only achieved 43.8% of the envisaged 55% target for youth opportunities. As we call upon the department to learn the lesson from its failures, we are equally appealing to young people of our country to remember that it is not possible for every young person to do office work. Real economic production and practical service does not happen in boardrooms. As the Public Works, as the custodian of our country's public works and infrastructure, the department has a critical role in entrepreneurship and industrial development. The department construction project management sub-program has an important role in supporting the development of black industrialists. Honorable members, this budget addressed the discomfort expressed by Tessa Holyfield, a senior researcher in the University of Johannesburg, whom some 2 years ago warned us that, I quote, "The state needs to be held accountable to avoid a situation in which well-intended solutions may create pockets of disadvantage and exploitations. We must respond to this accordingly to this call by ensuring that government EPWP does not exploit the very same people it seeks to uplift. That skills and work experience gained through these various programs should increase their chances of getting work. That those assisted by the department to acquire experience must not join the ranks of the unemployed. We must approve this budget so that we can use it to expand the size of the portfolio of immovable assets as an instrument to transform South Africa. It is unacceptable that 25 years into democracy, the property sector of our country remains white and male-dominated. This must change, and it must change now. As a major player in the infrastructure sector, the department has a role to play in transforming the ownership patterns of the country. It is also for this reason that we reaffirm the call for the department to expedite the conclusion of the Public Works Bill. Honorable members, those of us who want to see better hospitals, better schools, better roads in our country will not waste time pontification on words. The budget placed before us is not a dream. It's a realistic step in inventing the future. It gives us the strength and gather more energy to do the impossible. Those who think we should delay the approval of this budget should remember...
Thank you, Honorable Marshall. Thank you so much. The time is up.
House Chair, as a progressive force, we have a responsibility to liberate these rented, self-centered, self-serving nincompoofs these parliamentary tricksters, ideological plagiarists, charlatans, holopoloids, lumpen proletariat, they're rented blacks. Thank you very much.
Honorable members, can I please allow me to address myself to this? Honorable members, order. Honorable members, the rules that apply to the House are the rules that have been agreed to by all members, regardless of their political affiliation. We therefore have to respect them and stick to those rules. I want to take this opportunity and request Honorable Member Mashile to please stand up. I humbly request you not to ever do that again. I now call the Honorable Minister to close the debate.
Thank you, Chairperson. I will close the midnight.
Honorable Minister, just a sec, please. Honorable Member, sorry about that. Why are you rising? Member, that is not a point of order. Honorable Minister, can you continue? Order, honorable members, please.
I want to thank all the honorable members for their support from their various political parties, and I pledge to work with all of you because certainly I'm going to need your help to really turn this department around. So thank you for all of the support. The full speech is also available on the website of the department, but I just want to, in summary, refer to some of the issues raised by members. The concern around the IDT was raised by a number of members. I've scheduled a meeting with the Deputy Minister and myself to meet with the board. The Director General has already sent a letter to the IDT to review their budget process because we've seen a number of increases in their budgets which we cannot approve. So we are attending to that matter. Chairperson, we've also identified 10 risks in the department because if you want to manage this department, you need to also prioritize. And we've identified risk within the Department of Public Works and also risk in the property management trading entity. And I will share all of those risks with the portfolio committee together with a plan as to how to address the 10 risks. A number of members spoke about the exorbitant expenditure on accommodation, and that, yes, is correct. Because of austerity measures, we have instructed the executive not to buy new furniture and new office furniture. But we started with reducing the SONA budget from 2.3 million to just under 500,000, so it can be done. But while I have the ear of the members of Parliament also, as much as we've put measures in place to recover outstanding rental, not only from the executive but also members of Parliament, can I please ask you to pay your outstanding rental? The amount outstanding is 403,000. And Honorable Kopani made reference of 1.2 million. I will certainly going to look into it. But another appeal to members of Parliament, thank you to all of you that have moved voluntary out of your allocated state homes. On Sunday, we had to take drastic measures to remove 19 members of Parliament who refused to move. And please don't give us all of that, because we had to clean the houses and other members were staying in hotels while they were waiting for their houses. Also, in terms of the money spent on what is called Prestige Portfolio, the Deputy Minister, I've asked her to lead a process to change that name. I don't think Prestige fit into the vocabulary of a government. And so we will be making sure that we shift more money towards public spaces, because that is where people interact with us directly, and that's where they get the first impression about government. Also, Chairperson, another measure that we brought in is that there's the 30 days compliance by which our department must pay suppliers. And it's a compliance matter, so they must comply. So I've now made it part of the KPI and the performance management of all the senior managers to ensure that we pay all suppliers within 30 days. Many of the members spoke about the asset register. Well, the department has for the past 9 years sought to complete an asset register, including valuations. I understand we are in a transition from a manual system to a system called SAGE, and then SAGE moved on to a system called Archibus. And what I've done, I've appointed an outside person to evaluate our register and provide us and verify the register, so I will be able to give the members an update very soon. We are the custodians of 29,000 parcels of land, including 89,000 buildings. So it's a big asset that we are sitting on as a portfolio. And the public land and the public assets must be used for public good, and that is where we are going to move the resources to. In terms of land reform, we're also making a contribution. We'll be issuing 33 title deeds to farmers in Limpopo. We're going to release 100 pieces of land to land claimants, and that will further help us to deal with the spatial injustices in our country. And I will be making further announcements on that. In this financial year, everybody speaks about the role of infrastructure towards economic growth. I agree 100%. In this year, we've budgeted 5 billion rand for 300 projects within the department, and that is specifically so that we can stimulate the construction industry that is on a steep decline. That will be the catalyst that we will contribute to help the declining construction industry. Also, maintenance and repairs. It's a mess. There's no other way you can describe it. And I'm starting a program this week where we are going to prioritize maintenance and repairs, and I'm going to move money from buying new buildings to maintenance and repairs to deal with the backlog. This month, I'm engaging directly. I'm starting with the courts. I get a phone call almost every day about the conditions of our courts, from Port Shepstone to Durban to all over the country. So we are bringing together all the regional court managers together with the Department of Correctional Service and Justice. We're going to assess the situation, and we're going to start repairing our courts immediately. Thereafter, we're moving on to the police stations, and I will be inviting members of parliament to join me with that exercise. Some good news at least is that there's a feasibility study that will be concluded by the end of September 2019. We're going to save energy. We're going to put photovoltaic panels on all our government buildings to generate electricity, and then put the reserve electricity back into the grid. We're starting with 300 buildings by the end of this month, and this initiative will create a demand for more photovoltaic panels, for more inverters, and therefore it's going to create an industry of its own and create jobs. Lastly, the issue of small harbors. We've got over 3,000 kilometers of coastline. We only have 12 proclaimed small harbors in the Western Cape, and then we have 55 unproclaimed harbors in the rest of the country in other provinces. Now, small harbors, I agree, are important to one, Operation Pakisa, and also the ocean economy. Already we've seen the investment in the Western Cape for the repair of fishing harbors here. We've created 274 jobs, and we've empowered more than 35 local SMMEs. So definitely there's value in that. And in the coming days, I will also be engaging with the private sector and other stakeholders. I'm starting tomorrow morning by engaging the property sector on the property charter in Sandton, because it's time that we all come together to make sure that we use this asset, the value of the asset that we've got on being the custodian of land and buildings. It's the biggest asset holding in the continent. So we will welcome ideas as to how we can utilize this asset of which we are the custodian to grow our economy. But now the plans are in place. What we need now, we need to see action. We need to see implementation, implementation, implementation. And so I want to say, baie dankie aan almal wat geluister het. Thank you very much. Enkosi kakhulu, kiyaleboga. God bless.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Honorable members, could you please allow me a minute or two to address the issue that happened regarding the language and the interpretation. As I understood, the member was requesting, Honorable Member Mukwele, was requesting interpretation. At times, our personal experiences and life stories, honorable members, impact on how we view certain matters. And in this regard, we have the freedom to express ourselves in this house in the language we are comfortable with. And that is according to the dictates of Rule 63. Equally, members have the right to listen to a debate in a language they feel most comfortable with. Of course, we are aware of the technical problem. And I am mindful not to inhibit the right of any member to freedom of speech. We should all, as members, be guided by the fact that nothing is gained by using excessive language. If an expression is perceived as rude or offensive, the member is humbly requested, will be humbly requested, of course, to refrain. However, in the light of this, I personally see nothing unparliamentary about what Honorable Mukwele said. The House is adjourned. Thank you very much.